So can we go back just a little bit to how you ended up at this agency? So this agency is part of MHW or became part of MHW?
It essentially it was like a service that we were providing for certain clients. And
Okay.
then it just became too big internally where we like needed dedicated accounting, we needed dedicated like billing, we needed dedicated department. And the name we had at the time and for the service was concept commercialization, which in theory was like the perfect name because it's like taking ideas, getting them on shelf. But personally, it's really hard to say. And I definitely felt myself, even though I would say it 50, 60,000 times a day, I would still like stutter or stumble across like concept to commercialization. Kind of like recently, like we had a really good year last year, especially. And I was like, you know what, it would be great to like actually get a dedicated budget for this, a dedicated like marketing impetus so that we can actually start like targeting folks. So then it kind of has become like a kind of division within MHW. Still very much part of MHW for sure. Like I definitely love to lean into that expertise. Like MHW has been around for 30 years. So there's like the executive team alone has probably 100+ years experience and combined. So like I never want to take myself away from that and the network of suppliers that they've worked with over the years. But this is kind of like a new way of thinking, a new service that like we can educate our existing staff to be educated on because like they deal with different clients of all shapes and sizes, and they might be on calls or on emails with them, and they might have just like a general gripe about the day, and it's like, oh, we can actually help with that. Like whereas before it was like, oh, I'm sorry, so sorry to hear your bottles are like they have poor quality or they keep breaking. Like, but now we can be like, okay, we can actually help solve that problem. So we can do a custom bottle for you, or we can find alternative suppliers, be it in stateside, or if you're worried about tariffs in China, we can have them, like you said, stateside or made in Europe, or you feel like you want like kind of customized packaging or maybe a better continuity of supply with regard to liquid, like we can assist with that kind of stuff now. Whereas previously it was probably like, I'm so sorry that must suck, but let's continue on our day-to-day service of what we do. So yeah, it's more of like an extension of the division within MHW as well.
And so if I had a brand, an idea or a brand, I would come to you and we'd just start brainstorming ideas on the market, what's selling, what's not, I guess, and kind of figure out what category we wanted to play in, and then you'd help design and source and create all the ingredients and all the things.
For sure, that's exactly how it works, and it separates into like two buckets. So there's one where it's very much like data driven, as in, okay, I see a gap. I think this product is going to be the next big thing. I feel like certain products are like kind of tailing off a little bit, like something like maybe a tequila or like malt-based RTDs. And it's like, okay, what's the new thing? And then again, based on trends, based on what's happening in pop culture, someone might see an opportunity to create a perfect product for the perfect time for the perfect person. Um, so that's like kind of one avenue. And then we would help to facilitate all that. So we would help with firstly liquid sourcing that. So whether it's made in the US or made abroad, we would work on that. We would then help with brand name ideation if they don't have a dedicated name that they like. So we'd come up with a bunch of different names, different design directions. And then we work with a third party graphics design agency in the UK called United Creatives, which we absolutely love. So they help us like bring these ideas to life in terms of renders, mood boards, art direction, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we essentially project manage it from start to finish to the first production. So we've created the graphics, we've sourced the packaging, we've come up with the liquid, we have someone who's going to put it into a bottle or a can, and we basically facilitate all that. We work on it for a number of months and we bring it all together. And then the brand owner has this beautiful brand that they've created. And then the other aspect is someone who just has a wonderful idea. It's not always tied into current events, timing, trends. It's just like, I just made this concoction. I made this cocktail in my kitchen, served it to a bunch of friends, and they just really loved it. And then I tried it with a bigger group and they loved it. I'm going to make this my thing. So we'll help that person build their brand from scratch. So let's, again, come up with a name. Let's create some graphics. Let's create a world in which this brand lives in. And we will project manage the entire thing from start to finish because a lot of people in the industry come into it not knowing how it works, and they could spend a lot of time spinning their wheels with regards to like a great example, Provine. If you're starting a brand and you go to Provine, you see 1.3 million booths of wine, beers, and spirits, and it's like, who is a good supplier, who's not a good supplier, like who's even going to listen to me, who's not going to listen to me.
Right.
Whereas because we have the network already in place, you hire us, we'll build it for you. You're still the decision maker. That's a big thing we try to get across from day one, is that like, I'm not building this brand for you, I'm building it with you. Kind of thing. So it's like, as much as I give my 2 cents, because I feel like I'm like a millennial, I'm into current events and politics and pop culture. So if I like the product, there's probably a good chance other folks will like it too. So I always offer like my own 2 cents as well. But at the end of the day, I'm building something that you really, really want, and you want it to become real. And then yeah, we project it, manage it from start to finish. And then once the first production is done, we kind of like separate, we go our separate ways and hopefully come back for another project. Or the goal is that they will work with MHW's like dedicated services. So if they need importation, they need domestic, out of state shippers, they can come in and become a full circle client, which is really exciting because I feel like a lot of clients, they love working with us. So the fact that we do more services, the less people and less touch points they have to have, which can help. Because again, to my point about going to Provine, you're going to find like your bottle supplier, you're going to find your cap supplier, you're going to find your liquid supplier. There's probably a design agency there, cork suppliers, secondary packaging suppliers. That's like 7 people I just named off the top of my head. You want to work with me? I'll build it all for you and with you so that it's all tidy up in a nice bow at the end. So you know who you're ordering with, what are the pricing, what's the minimum order quantities, what's the lead time for a reorder. Like, we're establishing all that for you guys too. And most importantly, making sure we're doing it compliantly, so that we're using like approved vendors, that there's continuity of supply there, that it's not just like the cheapest product to get out there. We want to do it like right and by the book too. So that was probably the biggest learning for me, is coming into this into MHW, not from a beverage alcohol standpoint, as like, I know how to build a brand, but I need to learn how to do it here, because I don't know what the key milestones are. I don't know what the key like federal legislation is and the state legislation. So that was my biggest learning curve in the beginning, was like, okay, for me to get a design, I need to have it approved by the federal government first. So it was kind of like learning all those mandatories, learning about the verbiage and that kind of fun stuff. So that was a big part of like my learning piece too. But yeah, essentially, if you're starting a brand from scratch, or you're part of a larger agency, you want to outsource some of the brand development and project management, like, there's no client who's too big or too small for us.